Hi everybody. I hope you enjoyed your experience with extending the image last week. I saw some really interesting takes on that idea. Very creative. For this week, we're going to dip back into an artistic technique, a painting technique called Pointillism. Maybe you've heard of Pointillism. Can you hear the word point inside of Pointillism? That helps us to understand what it means. It means to paint with dots, tiny dots all together. And when the tiny dots are all together, when you stand back, it takes on a shape and a dimension that's unique. So the artist that developed and really worked on this idea of pointillism was Georges Seurat, and he was a French painter who was curious about how painting with dots might change the way that light appeared in his paintings. And he made a very famous painting called Le Grand Jeté. Right here where you found this video, I'm going to be posting some pictures of Georges Seurat and also some examples of his paintings, especially the Grand Jeté, a very famous painting. And then also I'll post some pictures of student work that was created using the pointillism technique. So Georges Seurat created this very special painting called Le Grand Jeté, and it's huge. In fact, I researched it this morning. It's 6 feet tall. So if you can imagine a very tall person, 6 feet tall is how tall this painting is, and it's 10 feet wide. So very, very big canvas. And then on that very big canvas, all he used was dots. And when you're very, very close up in the image, it looks like little dots. And then when you back up away from the image, it doesn't so much look like little dots, but the technique of using the little dots, I think, adds a dimension and a richness to the way that the light enters his paintings. So I thought, why don't we try it? Let's try some pointillism techniques. I want to show you some things I tried, and then I want to give you some ideas about materials, and then send you off to create your own artwork using pointillism. So this is the first one that I made. I drew a very simple cloud shape, and then I simply used markers, gray and black, to make dot, 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 dots. And if you look at this cloud up close, you can see, oh, those are tiny little dots. But if I bring it all the way back here, you can still tell that it's a cloud, but maybe not dots. So can you tell how I used this spread out gray dots to mix with white to show this lighter part of the cloud? But then when I wanted to show the heavier part of the cloud that had more raindrops in it, I put those gray dots closer together, and then I added some black dots in there, so I can kind of create some dimensionality in my image. Here's another one that I made. I thought about trees, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. And I drew a simple shape of a tree, and then I filled in with dots. But I wanted to show that the light was coming from this direction, shining onto the tree. So again, my green dots on this side of the tree where the light is shining are farther apart, and I even added in some yellow to lighten the feeling of this side of the tree. But then I wanted to show that this side was kind of in the shadow or darker. So I put those dots closer together, and I even mixed in a little bit of blue. You can't see it from here, but if I held it up really close to the camera, you might be able to see that I added in blue. And then I did the kind of same thing with the trunk. The light's shining on this side of the trunk, so those dots are spread out, and then I put these closer together. Then let me show you my flower. Actually, when I made this flower, I did it 2 ways so that you could see, you know, it's beautiful if you just draw this simple leaf and this simple tulip shape and you fill it in with dots. It's beautiful, right? There's no wrong way to experiment with pointillism, but on this side I showed how I could again shade in those darker edges and show some depth and dimensionality. I even used purple in there, and I used yellow here to lighten. So that's just an example of how you could use those dots differently. I used marker on these. I think marker's the easiest thing to use, but it's not the only thing you can use. In fact, I experimented with using a stamp pad and a pencil eraser, just like this, just stamp pad, pencil eraser to make dots. And I also experimented with using Q-tips. Can you see? Q-tips in watercolor. So some of you might have your watercolors at home. You don't have to use watercolors, but if you have them, you could. So I challenge you to choose a simple image first, just a very simple shape, maybe a heart or a star or something that's not very complicated, and try it. Get a small piece of paper and just give it a try. It does take a little while. It takes some patience, but when you get finished, the result is really beautiful. I was thinking about how long must it have taken Georges Seurat to paint that Le Grand Jeté? It took him 2 years. Can you believe it? How much patience he must have had to stand and paint tiny, tiny dots for 2 years. Up close and then backing up to check how does it look and then coming up close again. So be sure to check out the images that I'm attaching to this lesson, and also make sure that you hit our Flipgrid and share with us your Pointillism artwork. All right, friends, go to it.